Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
That was fun. That was a nice wake up.
Yeah, it was.
So I had to drive my wife to a healthcare appointment, and the West Seattle Bridge was a nightmare. So I was supposed to be back over an hour ago, but I'm still on the road. Um, so I'll be doing this while I'm driving. Um, so I'll try to do as little talking as I can. We have some fun updates. So let me turn it over to Kelly. Are you on the call?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Kelly. All yours.
All right, thanks for the time. Let me convert pretty quickly here. All right, Christian, can you see?
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, so this is the development team community update number 54. We started a new sprint, a new 2-week sprint as of Monday. Our priority for this sprint is platform stability, bug fixes largely related to stability, and continuing work on feature specification. I'll talk more about feature work in just a few minutes. We did release our node version 8.2 on Monday. At a very high level, this release delivers a variety of bug fixes, optimizations contributing to bugs related to platform stability, expanded test coverage for Casper. This is being really helpful to the team as they debug, and a new implementation of the metrics API. Again, this supports debugging, reporting. Our node operators will benefit from this as well, and as well, it also contributes to our work with the white block team. There is a link for the release plan if you'd like to read more in depth, and I'll throw that into the chat here in just a minute. We are continuing work on Mercury requirements and acceptance criteria. I'm going to be very transparent here. I've said this week on week over the past probably 6 weeks at this point, including the holidays. This has proven to be a very large project, not because it's not possible, not because it's so complex, but the project is large. The requirements of the expectations of users is diverse. And what we're trying to do as a development team is to ensure that we have, number one, that we have a complete list of what people expect Mercury to do. And number two, to make sure that we understand how we can demonstrate that in the language of a test. And so I know I've talked about the features document before. It's a document that you can find in GitHub. We have taken the content of that document and developed a tool intended to help us focus as a development team on what's important to deliver Mercury, and also to provide a consistent place where we can all look and say, this is what Mercury will deliver, and this is the status of it. This tool that I'm showing on my screen now will be available in the near term, but right now what I'm showing you is a static view of the output of the features doc running through a tool that Pavel help provide and displaying here in my browser. But what you can see, our goal really is to be able to say, here's the requirement. As a node operator, I want to install software from binary artifacts or a Docker image. Pretty straightforward. And success means that we can. Not only do we understand it, but we can prove and demonstrate that we can. And here's another example. I want to interface with the rolling interpreter and evaluate smart contracts independently of the blockchain. We can describe the tests, how to demonstrate that given the steps of a test. And why you see success here now is because there is a test running that shows that this is complete. So we would like to validate completion of Mercury in a testing format. I will call out, there's a lot of yellow and red. Yellow here means that we understand the story. We as the dev team understand the story. We have a proposal for the steps that could demonstrate this story and completeness. And what's missing at this point really is that we just need to build out that test. So there's a lot on this page that is yellow and red, largely related to connecting the steps described to either an existing test or fairly quickly bringing up a test that will show these things that largely are done, but still need validation through a test so that we can, all agree that yes, this part is done. There's also a fair amount of work needed to continue to define what a story means. So for example, we have a user story. I want to know how much rev my deployment will cost. Pretty straightforward in terms of, yeah, that makes sense. But in terms of describing it in steps of a test, that it requires more specificity, more conversation is usually how that works out. That's why you see not defined. It's not that we don't understand the story, it's that we don't understand the steps of a test that would show completeness of this. And then once we have, again, the steps of the test, then we can create the test, and then it's either done or it's not done. In short, this tool is what's driving our focus as a development team right now. If it's work that's not related to platform stability or bug fixes, team members are here largely focusing on definition. And once we have definition, we will largely focus on test, and then, of course, continuing to deliver. And the goal is, by Mercury, all of this is green. Sorry about that. So that's a work in progress for the team. It is proven to be a very useful focal point for us. I hope you might also consider a useful focal point for you as you look to see what and understand what Mercury is doing. When we have more completeness in this space, we will be able to shift to a more concrete burn down view in Jira of this is what we need to get done, and this is the velocity towards which we're reaching that goal. We're just not in that place yet, so that we're getting to that place by completing the work that's shown here. The other thing that's happening is we continue to work with the White Block team. I believe that we should see something from them today, which will be an execution of a test plan that we have in place. There's a link here if you'd like to take a deep dive into what that looks like. Again, we do not have a public testnet. There are a number of issues blocking delivery of a public testnet. There's a link where you can see a view of what these are. I am very pleased with the team's ability over the past 4 weeks to shorten that list. That list is a lot more done than it used to be, but blockers are real, and even if there's just one, it's a blocker. So we continue to focus and prioritize work there. We do have the PR in for the block store, and I'm so excited to see that integration tests are passing. And then as they review that PR, Danielle is also continuing work to improve the checkpoint behavior in the block store. The block store is a blocker to a public testnet. It's an important feature that's going to help support that testnet. So that is included in our thinking of what is stability. Casper, we continue to have a conversation about the validator incentives document that Kent published. I saw a lively conversation about that in Discord today, and would encourage all of you, if you're interested or have an interest in validation, to take a look and add your questions there. I think that's really important work at this point. Ovidio, Ovidio completed the implementation of the row spec. This was adding a class that would help collect failures from rolling tests. Having poor messaging in tests related to rolling and Casper was preventing the team from doing some debugging work, so we're really excited to have this class in place, and then the next step would be to complete the work so that we can actually use it with the test result collector that is part of the Casper tests. We do have a bug investigation that looked like an issue related to validator bonding, and it no longer appears to be the case. They were chasing down whether it's actually related to the code or to the consensus algorithm. Late breaking news is about 20 minutes ago. It looks like a fix that's needed in the code. Kent's going to give that a go later today, and so hopefully we can resolve what was being reported in Node as an assertion error. We observed it during bonding, but it doesn't appear to be an issue specifically related to bonding. Let's see, the Node team is completing work on the Stream API with retries, and that's helping, and they have taken out, basically they've limited how Node is receiving things to help preserve some of its memory, and that's certainly helpful. We have some updates into our DAG grapher. That tool is proving to be very, very useful by the team. as we are able to see what that DAG looks like. And then we also have in progress an effort to profile our node and see how it's performing and where we might observe some bottlenecks. We related to that work are trying to investigate a bug related to block finalization. It may or may not be a bug, but what we're observing is we're not seeing blocks finalize in the testing environment related to profiling. So the team has an internal test planned for tomorrow where they will look more critically at block finalization. This is something we also observed in community testing yesterday. It's unclear if it's a challenge with the algorithm or if it's a challenge with the environment with which we're trying to see finalization, and maybe our expectations don't match what's happening. The SRE team is also highly focused on stability work. I'm really pleased with Tamash's delivery of the V2 of RChain Doctor. This is the log aggregator. Super duper helpful when we're doing community tests or internal dev team tests to collect all the logs from the nodes on the network. We are also improving the delivery of data. We have an internal, what we call a rundeck testnet. And being able to get more useful and refined data out of that. They're working to support the white block team, and Adam is delivering a lot of good optimizations to the integration test coverage. We were very pleased to work with Derek and his team yesterday to get the dev site updated with information about the release of our node 8.2. And with that, I'll pause. Are there any questions?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Kelly. That was really comprehensive, very lucid, and I really appreciated it. I think one of the things that came across qualitatively on Monday, Dev Stand Up with me, was that the team felt as a team that they now had cycles to move into some of the feature development as opposed in addition to the ongoing stability work. And just wanted to sort of get your confirmation on that. Is that still how they feel?
Yeah, I echo that. I mean, part of it is just the challenge of, you have a bunch of people watching a house burn down, but only so many people can truly help put out the fire. And we don't want to have the whole team standing around watching stability work if they can't be involved in it. And can't here might be a skill set or just, too many cooks in the kitchen. So we do feel like we have good coverage in the dev team to focus on stability work and bug investigation work. And at the same time, we also feel like we have capacity in the team to focus differently and look more at feature definition and then feature work as it becomes available.
Not sure I like the house burning down metaphor, but other than that,
okay, I'll try it.
But no, actually, I've been really pleased with the progress. I think the other thing that the team and I talked about was a kind of nerdy thing that has to do with the getting the abstraction right so we can explore some different threading models. But maybe that's for those people who are really interested in the details. But I really appreciate the update. Does anyone else have any questions for Kelly? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Thank you very much, Kelly. Kayvon, are you at a point where you could give the demo? Can folks hear me?
Sorry, I had a hard time maneuvering my way back to Zoom. Yes, I think I can. I haven't had a lot of time to go over it, but I can follow it. So as long as everybody's patient, I can do it. Sweet.
Yeah. No worries. I just want to give a little context and background while you're getting screen share and all that set up. So Dan Connolly and I have been working together, and Dan so Dan is providing runnable Roland code for a spec around identity that I have been delivering, and which is going to be important for a number of different groups that we're working with that need to provide identity and expression and capture of will and all of that. I mean, the short thing is that the next October general meeting, we got to have voting on top of RChain, right? And so in expanding the remit of the identity thing, Dan went ahead and implemented a basic demonstration of voting, just using, you know, sort of core object capability ideas, and Kayvon is about to demonstrate that, I haven't had a chance to run this myself yet, so we're flying a little blind here, but I know that the Jim and Kate and Dan have did some extensive testing of the system a few days back. Are you ready to go, Kayvon?
Sure. Let me share my screen, please. And again, please bear with me. I haven't really put a lot of time into this, so I'm flying blind. All right, so here is the source code. On the left-hand side, hopefully everybody can see the screen. On the left-hand side, you see the voting contract. And on the right-hand side, you see the locker. And I think Greg just explained as to what the expectations are from each one of these contracts. And now I'm going to switch back to command line. So sorry, 1 second. Yeah, it looks like I'm running a version of this already. So let me just kill these processes and then bring Node back up again.
Sounds good.
Just gonna take me a little bit of time.
It's interesting, like when Dan and I were talking about this, like one of the things that became clear was he was following a Solidity design pattern, and so much of the design pattern shrunk because of the object capabilities that are baked into Rolang. So he had dropped a bunch of it on the front end side, but on the delegation side, he had sort of replicated the Solidity contract design pattern. And then as we were talking, you realized, oh my God, I can just hand out the object capability, and that's the way to delegate. So much of what you have to work really hard for in Solidity and other sort of languages of that style don't make these kinds of applications a lot harder. Are you up and running, Kayvon?
Yes. So as hopefully people can see, I brought in a version of Node, and now I'm going to deploy the voting contract first. So that's on the lower part of my command line, my terminal. Firing it up, and it was deployed successfully, and you see the message on the high part. And now I'm going to I think I could just do a propose from here, right?
Yeah, should be able to.
Oh, spelling.
That's why I like programming. I can misspell, I just have to remain consistent. All right, so, oh, I'm in read-only mode, so I can't, hold on. I think I know what the problem is. Okay, history, grab node. And 1 second, so I think I want 9824. Did I miss? Everybody's still connected, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just muted because it's so noisy here while I'm driving.
So the problem was I was in read-only mode because I didn't bring Node in as a validator.
Right.
And now I'm bringing it up. There we go. It just takes a little bit of time. I think you're very familiar with these screens, Kelly. You see them every Tuesday.
I do. I don't always understand what I'm saying, but pattern recognition is strong.
All right, so now that it came up, we're going to try this again. So we're going to submit the voting one first. And it was deployed. Now we're going to propose. Oh, that's not good.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, but good. No, it is good. Okay. Yes, it failed, but you got the bug.
Well,
That's exciting.
Oh, okay, so he got the. Oh, so probably Dan was working on a previous version of the. He was probably one sprint behind where you guys are.
This is the latest build from the dev branch that I pulled this morning because I was working on RChain and I.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think Dan is one sprint behind, so he was not experiencing this bug. So that's why we're seeing a difference in behavior.
All right. Can you scroll down? Can I just take a quick picture?
I can send this over.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have a nice repro there.
Yeah,
Well done, Kevin.
but I'm not sure how to demo Dan's thing because I.
No, don't worry about it. We'll do it again next week. Once we shake this out. So that's fine. Yeah, but I mean the nice thing is that we've got a repro. People can look at the Dan's row line code for the voting, and then we can use this to go sort out the bug that just showed up. So that's great news.
I have one idea if the community wants to hang out with me for a few minutes.
Well, we have some other things. We can have some other things we can talk about, and we can circle back. If you have a way to pull down an older version of the node and try that.
Actually, yeah, I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to try something else. But do you want me to stop sharing or just work in the background where you guys?
Yeah, well, yeah. Why don't you pursue that idea in the background, and then if it comes to fruition, we'll circle back.
Sounds good.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. The point is that we're starting to make progress on the kinds of applications that the co-op needs in order to fulfill its functions, such as members voting on issues in the co-op. So we're taking those steps, and in fact, we had a really nice conversation this morning with the Mycelia group about getting more of their stuff up on the RChain platform because it's all about creating their stuff is mostly about creating artist profiles, but there's not really much substantive difference between co-op personas and artist personas. At least as the software doesn't understand the content, right? It doesn't know that the persona is about a co-op member versus an artist member, and so there's a large overlap there, which we can then so we get a twofer in terms of getting an identity solution that then plugs into a voting solution like Dan's. So really happy about the application level progress that's going on simultaneously with the platform development progress. So unless there are any questions from the community about that, I'll move on to discussions of business related matters. I should mention that Kayvon, you did say that you had updated RSong also to the latest and greatest version of the node, which is probably why you have the latest and greatest on your machine.
Yes, I did do that, and I did a new deployment, and I'm also almost done with building standing up a new sandbox where we could actually run some experimentations on different features that we might want to implement.
That's awesome. That's really good. And and that's something that we need no matter what. But it also turns out that we're looking at taking the RChain template and kind of rebranding the back end so that more people can just pick up the back end piece of it and tweak it to their liking for other kinds of data market applications. And so we're actually opening it up for the community to give us some suggestions for the branding of the back end piece of this, since it works for, it could work for photo sharing or video clip sharing or lots and lots of other data market style applications. So would love to have some input from the community on what to call this sort of back end template that people can use to get to MVPs pretty quickly. All right, so with that, I think that's all the technical updates. So now let's turn to some discussions of business. I know that a lot of community members have been concerned with the Reflective Ventures and their management of their treasury. So I just want to point out that we had a contractual relationship with Reflective, or we have a contractual relationship with Reflective, and basically in terms of the spirit of the agreement, they have satisfied the bulk of their milestones. There's some things we're talking to them about. There's some reporting things that needed to happen that they need to catch up on. But by and large, they've met their contractual obligations. And as a result, they manage their treasury the way they manage their treasury. It's, we can have a conversation with them, and obviously we want, good relationships between Reflective and the cooperative, but Reflective is its own company. They have their own treasury. And I think if members who are concerned with how people manage their rocks, they need to be careful about what they wish for, right? We don't want the co-op to be the sort of rock police, right? We it's like if there's some whale out there that is manipulating the market, I don't think that the members would be very comfortable with the co-op stepping in and dictating how that whale can manage its own rock supply, right? That's not how things work. We can have conversations. We can work with each other to.
Greg, you're breaking up. Or am I alone in that?
No, he dropped.
Okay.
I was just going to say, like, if anybody wants to go and join EOS, they can, because they have a constitution and they have they can roll back transactions on the network. The block validators can do it. There was like a hack a while ago, and there's basically a court, and then there's enough evidence to like roll back the transactions. So it's like, there are other blockchains that can do that, but I don't. Yeah, I agree with Greg. I don't think we should be like freezing accounts or doing some crazy stuff like that. It's just nonsense. And there's an article right there, June 19th, 2018. I posted it in the Zoom chat, on Discord.
I'm changing the subject a little bit, but my idea didn't work. I just basically wanted to remove all my old history and do a fresh start, and I thought that might clear it up, but it didn't.
Do you remember? Do you think it might be just a matter of using an older version? Do you want to try 8.1? Do you recall if it worked on 8.1?
Well, I didn't run this particular contract, but I've been running all the RChain contracts against.
I haven't seen I guess I'm saying this because I have not seen the flow error. Something went in.
Yeah.
Something changed in the past 7 days.
I'm providing the right parameters, right? pH low.
Yep, that's right.
Right. Then yeah. I wonder.
I can show some of our run from Sunday testing the version.
Sure. Go ahead. Did people hear my comments about
Yeah.
reflective?
Yeah, we mostly got it, Greg.
Oh, okay. All right. Did I cut out at some point or something?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
There's one comment in the chat. The gentleman saying that the co-op is an LP of Reflective Ventures. It's different from an independent whale moving rock. I don't know if I agree with that, but you know, in the sense of like, what do you want to do about that? You know what I mean? Like that may be a true statement, but like, I think on principle nothing changes, right?
Well, I mean, the main thing is that as an LP, we have a certain contractual relationship, and what we can and cannot do is prescribed by that contract. What we can and cannot do as an LP is prescribed by that contract, and at least in the spirit of the contract, they have met the requirements of the contract. I mean, there are a few points, a few minor points that we obviously want to talk about that are related to reporting and accounting, but at the end of the day, they met and exceeded the expectations in the spirit of the contract. So we, really they are now in control of their treasury, and that's the difference. They're in control, right? And in order to have gained that control, they had to meet certain milestones, which were spelled out, and by and large, they have done that. So that's the real, nub of the matter. I don't want the co-op to be rock police or rev police. There are some things that the co-op ultimately would be able to do, such as change the interest rate and the transaction fees, which is and that's where the co-op governance comes into play.
Greg, what about rolling back transactions or potentially freezing accounts where there's potential fraud connected to certain addresses, like on EOS, where I just posted the article a while ago. In June, they rolled back, they froze the block validators froze 7 accounts connected with fraudulent activity. Will the co-op ever be in a position to do something like that?
Well, I mean, certainly the co-op can do things like hard forks, right? The more the co-op takes on the control of individual accounts, the more that begins to feel like a centralized entity.
Right.
And
exactly.
And that, and I think we have to be really, really careful about giving the cooperative those kinds of powers. Individual accounts is a tricky area. I'm happy to entertain dialogue about it. I think it's an interesting area of debate. But personally, I would be very cautious about giving the cooperative those kinds of powers.
What recent conversation precipitated this one? I'm just curious.
Well, again, so reflective. I mean, you can see from the wallets, reflective is moving large amounts of rock, not large amounts of dollar value, but large amounts of rock, which is having anticipated downward pressure on the price of the rock. So I think that's so membership has.
Yeah, it's addressing the community. The community brought up the topic, so we're just addressing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. So let me circle back with Kayvon. Any progress, or are we sort of stuck behind that bug?
I was going to show very quickly here us running it over the weekend.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Jim.
So we have here where Dan created a ballot here with Jim, Steve, and R, using Robot in Discord in the collab, and created a ballot, a chair, which is really a permission to admin permission capability, and a locker, and then Steve Henley Natural entered a contract here. We got an inbox. We got create a locker and you have a locker, and there's an inbox in the locker where you receive the permission to vote.
Right.
And then we had a where are we here? We, had a new user here, which created an inbox and a locker for a user. This is new user capability, and then we defined the contracts. Here's a contract that prints out the results of the election, and it takes the nonce as an argument, and then we do a test votes here, and it gives us the results here that R got 1 vote, and the winner was R. When we went to add a second vote, we hit an error in this bug.
Which is the right thing, right? You should vote early and often is just a joke.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so a second vote should not should produce an error, right? So as I'm reading that particular scenario, that's testing and failure mode. That
actually, when I voted for R, which was Rushcroft, and then when Adi and Gary tried to vote for, they didn't work. Okay, we have another method here, which is give the right to vote, and this worked fine when we did it on Saturday, but on Sunday we could give the right to vote, and it seemed to work. So I gave him the right, but when he voted, it didn't change the totals at all.
Oh, okay. So there
was a bug in the program somewhere.
There's a bug. Okay, good. Well, we should continue to test. All right. So let's revisit this next week and get this sorted out. Because I think being able to demonstrate voting on the platform is a significant step forward, because we want to be able to use the platform for our own purposes.
The intention is, at least RChain Europe hopes to actually use this to get sentiment.
Yeah, that's right. Good. Okay, so I think those are all the updates, unless there's any other updates we want to talk about. Kenny, do you have your report card?
I do.
Awesome.
Sure. I'll share my screen. Okay, so for January 9th, the biggest update we have, let me just go over quickly some of the items of business. The participation in or member participation in governance is still in the same place it was before the holidays. It's there's a working draft, and the governance committee will be taking on this sort of function, or helping to define this process as a top priority. Monetary policy still chugging along, looking for some further definitions of variables. We do have some user stories, and we're going to follow up again with all the participants here shortly and try to move that contract forward. Let's see, the improvement process. The improvement process is fairly well defined, though not very well organized. So that's where we are now. Is a process is very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum in the process by submitting a document that has some certain criteria, usually on GitHub. We're still needing a little bit more organization, a little bit more buy-off before we finalize this, but I'm thinking this is probably pretty close to what we want to have in terms of an RChain improvement process. But there was a governance committee informational meeting yesterday, And in this document here, which will be published later, it was recorded. It was about 45 minutes long. There's also written minutes that were taken. The two things that needed to get defined were how many members on the committee, as well as who those members should be. So in the course of the discussion of about 9 or so individuals, we thought that 5 voting members would be a good place to start. And those members are as follows: myself, Nick, Camilla, Dan, and Dror. And these members will be doing the first voting parts of this for the governance committee, where it's defining how governance might work in RChain, generally speaking. And then, but the idea of this committee is that it is an open and transparent, and that just because someone is not a voting member doesn't mean they can't participate or shouldn't come to meetings. So it is an open process, and one of the things the committee will be doing will be looking at how members come in and out of the committee, voting members, as part of its charter. But of course, any charter modifications do need to get approved by the board. So anything that would have to happen there would go bubble up for further adoption. So I will be bringing to this final draft to the board of directors for final approval tomorrow. Let's see here. So there were 2 meetings since I gave her an update. There was a special meeting, which there are unofficial minutes been published on GitHub from 12/21, in which 2 new board members were appointed, which everyone should know by now, but Steve Russ Talbot and Mark Kui joined the board of directors. And on the 3rd, we had an informational board meeting to sort of onboard those new members, where they could ask questions and get a feel for how the board works. So nothing was resolved there, no minutes were taken, but there will be another special meeting tomorrow to pick up business that needed to be addressed from that first week. We have a standing meeting that we used for onboarding, which was this January 3rd meeting, but we'll pick up more business again on Thursday, and then look for unofficial minutes from that a few days after that meeting, as well as we'll be finalizing minutes from the prior 2 meetings in this next one. Small update on 4th quarter compilations. So I've been in discussions with our bookkeeper that we hired and Hunt Jackson, and there has been work being done to consolidate everything and get everything corrected, but the progress isn't quite moving as fast as we'd hoped. We still think we have enough time to get everything ready for the end of January for the membership to review. So that's currently still on target, though I have heard some things but there are still some things outstanding that need to get resolved before we can actually put those compilations together. So that is the brief update. Any questions? All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny. That's good news. So there's a couple of other quick updates with respect to marketing. So a portion of the team will go out to the Block Week Binance conference, which is the 3rd week of January. And let's see, we also have one of our board members, Kevin Goldstein, this week is attending the Electric Co-op Association's conference. They have expressed considerable interest in a kind of transactive grid, and RChain is, would like to establish a relationship and presence with that community with an eye towards a pilot project. So that's so Kevin's presence there and participation in that is a first step in that direction. So I think that's it in terms of the marketing effort updates. I don't have anything else. Anybody else have anything they want to chat about?
This is Jonathan. I want to give a brief RChain Asia update. Building on our success in delivering a 5-day training program in Korea, we're reaching out to other opportunities to continue the development and growth of our developer education programs in Asia. And one of our Singapore members of RChain Asia had a very promising meeting with a institution and facility in Singapore for ongoing RChain development education based in Singapore that may also propagate elsewhere in Asia. So I can't give details yet, but the meeting went very well apparently, and we're looking forward to being able to announce something specific in the coming weeks, certainly by February 1st.
Great, that's good news. All right.
Rich Jensen is asking a question here.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yep.
What was the question? Rich, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I wasn't quick on the draw when Kenny was speaking, but there was a IOB resolution requiring the financial report to be given to membership, I believe, by January 20. And so my question is whether the failure to meet that IOB triggers any kind of administrative action, or how that's going to be dealt with.
There's nothing in the IOB that has any specific consequences. At the moment, we're still heading towards that date. But I'll let you know if we have any anticipation of delay.
All right, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions from the community? Good. Another hangout is in the rearview mirror. Looking forward to seeing folks next week with a better demo.
Oh, I want to say one more thing, if I could, Greg.
Go for it.
I really wanted to amplify the critical importance, I believe, of coming up with a branding for the generalizable components of RSong. One of the biggest concerns and recurring themes of discontent in the community is, first of all, complete confusion about the difference between RSong and immersion, but also really not appreciating the reality that what Kayvon and Kent and you, and I assume others, really not really appreciating the true significance of the generalizability of what's under the hood in RSong.
Agreed.
Our community and our platform partners and our potential community out there in the world really need to know that we have something very, very, very powerful here that can be used to spin up very, very quickly practical applications and dApps on the RChain platform. So right now, for a long time, we've been trying to tell a community, hey, we've got this great thing that you can use to be generalized. It's called RSong, which immediately sends the wrong message, because the name RSong immediately suggests that it is, or immediately suggests, even if at an unconscious level, that RSong is a music delivery system only, and it's not. So please, everybody, yourselves, everybody here, any of your friends that are really clever with names, let's come up with a name for this this back-end entity that is generalizable, that really communicates here is something fantastic that you can build on and build possibly anything that is fundamentally a supply chain on the blockchain solution. So, you know, I've thrown out the dumb suggestions, architecture or our framework or our template or whatever. I know somebody can come up with something 1,000 times better. So please help us. And I think this will really solve many, or create many opportunities and solve various problems with one word. Something.
Sure. No, I think it's great. I know in my head, I often think of it, and you know, in the UK colloquialisms, kit refers to, you know, your stuff, right? And it's frequently right. It's used to these days in tech, it's used to refer to your you know, your bag of tools, right?
Right.
So
Our kit.
Our kit, exactly. So
I think it's, you know, it's a little more focused. Maybe our deliver.
Yeah.
I think naming is so difficult. It pays to sit with it for a little bit. I agree with Jonathan. Making the translation from what we're talking about to what someone out there would get and it has to be almost on a subliminal level. That's extremely important. And just being witty or making puns or anything like that isn't going to cut it. I mean, I think you have to put yourself in the mind of the consumer, of the person who's going to use whatever it is.
Yeah,
And
these are mostly developers, right? The developers need, yeah. So we're trying to reach people who are techie and want to get to market fast.
Then that, you know, that sets up what the task is.
Cool. Yeah.
May I interrupt?
Yes, please.
So there was nothing wrong with the demo except for me.
No worries. User error.
Yeah,
Probably
so
user error. Yeah.
I'm gonna share my.
But it means you didn't get the bug.
Oh, that's true.
Sorry to disappoint you.
I'm disappointed.
But hopefully you could see my. Can you see my screen by any chance?
I can. Yes, I can.
The whole command line. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So basically, the pH load limit that I was giving was just way too low.
Yeah.
Which very correctly suspected that. So once I increased that, I ran the demo and it worked.
Okay, cool. So do we have the printout? I can.
I'm showing it on the top part of the screen.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So now I'm going to run the other contract. And now I'm going to propose it. And there is a printout. Locker.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, so the chair hands out the right to vote, and then the voter and the chair can vote. Nice.
So my apologies. That was totally my error.
No worries. I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put a nicer face on the demo so that people, because scrolling through the printout is probably a little bit difficult for people to see, and since we're so close to the end of the thing, I don't want to go through it again. But we'll put a nicer front end so people can understand what's going on, and I think that will also help with the RChain Europe folks being able to run with the POC. It's great though that you spotted it. So it's good to know that Dan's code worked. It was just that we were we were sort of caught flat-footed. I was expecting to give a demo myself and then got stuck in the car. But good, very good. All right, gentle people, onward and upward. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.